This is Robert. He's a 6-year-old boy that lives with his mom, dad, brother, and sister in Seattle, Washington. He was born with a hole in his heart, and last year he passed away while waiting for a heart transplant. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about xenotransplantation, which is a procedure designed to transplant animal organs and tissues into the human body. I'm going to talk a little bit about how it works and some of the controversies surrounding xenotransplantation. And finally, I'm going to explain my own position and my stance on the topic. Xenotransplantation works, they use the organs of a pig, and the reason why they use the organs of a pig is because the size and the function of the organs are closely compatible to that of the humans. So they take the embryos from a female pig and they inject it with a tiny bit of human DNA. Now there's not enough DNA to create a new species, but there is enough DNA to allow the pig's organs to be transplanted into the human body without the risk of a rejection. So basically the human body is tricked into believing that the organ that's being transplanted is actually a human organ and not that of a pig because it has the human DNA in it. So once the pig has grown to full size, they will harvest the organ from the pig and transplant it just as they would any other human-to-human transplantation. So that's just a little overview of how xenotransplantation works. Xenotransplantation has a number of supporters, and for good reason. There are a number of positive aspects associated with this medical practice. The most important positive aspect associated with xenotransplantation is that it could provide a potential way to a solution to the organ shortage crisis that our society faces today. In 2008, there was a study conducted by Reid Johnson where he looked at the number of patients in Canada that were on the wait list for organ transplants, and he concluded that there were 4,380 patients that were waiting for transplantations. And in 2008, of those 4,380 patients, 250 of them actually died while waiting for transplantations. And a number of other patients not even on the wait list were in advanced stages of their illness also passed away. So this just demonstrates that there is a large shortage of organs available for people that need transplantations. And this graph demonstrates the green line shows how many donors there are, and the gray line up there shows how many people are waiting for transplantation. So there's a large discrepancy between the amount of organs that are available and the amount of organs that people need. So xenotransplantation, there are some serious drawbacks to it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of these serious drawbacks and how they affect our society. The major concern is the health risk that is associated with xenotransplantation. There's the potential for an outbreak of zoonosis diseases, which are basically diseases that originate in animals, and through the interactions with the organs, new diseases break out. And examples of these diseases that are cross species boundaries are the HIV virus and swine flu. And these are animal diseases, so we do not have proper cures for them yet. So it has the potential to create more health problems in our society if we were to proceed with xenotransplantation. Another negative drawback associated with xenotransplantation is the animal rights that xenotransplantation would rub against. Studies have shown that animals are indeed capable of complex emotions. Emotions such as fear, boredom, love, sorrow, jealousy. So we're taking the autonomy of these animals and we're treating them as spare body parts. Is that justifiable? This rat is a rat created by Charles Vicanti at the University of Massachusetts. And what he did was he took a cell from a human ear and injected it into the embryo of a rat. And this rat grew to have a human ear, which could be transplanted onto human. This is xenotransplantation. And this brings about a lot of ethical questions that we need to ask ourselves. How far is society going to keep on pushing the boundaries of human life? The human population is at 7 billion, and although Greg says this is not a problem, I do think this is a problem. And another question we have to ask ourselves is, would crossing the species boundaries have an impact on what it is to be human? Meaning, if someone were to have the heart of a pig, are they truly human? These are complex ethical questions that need to be answered in order for us to proceed with xenotransplantation. I believe that right now the negatives outweigh the positives. More research needs to be done before we proceed with xenotransplantation. I'm in favor of more public information on organ donations and more information provided by the government for healthy lifestyles. And I also believe that the government should provide presumed consent in regards to organ donations, meaning that if someone were to die, they are presumed to be an organ donor unless otherwise explicitly indicated. And things that we can all do is we can become organ donators, and that's as simple as signing up for it on the organ donation website, or telling your friends and family that you want to be an organ donator, or as simple as writing a note that says you want to be an organ donator and putting it in your wallet. These are all simple steps that we can take in order to become an organ donator so we can solve this issue that we're faced in regards to the shortage of organs that we have come across. In conclusion, we need to ask ourselves these questions. Is it right to treat animals as spare body parts? Is it worth the risk of new diseases that could arise from cross-species transplantations? Should we continue to push the boundaries of human life? The answer to these questions is no. Robert died while waiting for a heart transplant, and this is a tragedy. But to save the lives of children like Robert, we will have to find alternative methods. Thank you. If there are any questions, I'll field them now. Nobly?
Through your research, what did you find, who was the biggest advocates? Families that had lost people from organ issues, or scientists that were in the field of research?
For the research that I found, were mostly focused on scientists that this is their field of work, this is how they're making a living, so they're pushing strongly for the right to proceed with xenotransplantation. And a number of the families were also, they also agreed with this, but they were a little more hesitant because they recognized some of the implications that could occur. So there was a mix. There was definitely a mix. Damon.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you think about the transplantation, but I'm curious what you think about completely cultured hearts and stuff like that. Like what I was saying in my speech, what do you think about?
I would agree with that as long as the negatives outweigh, or the positives outweigh the negatives. If there are implications where society could be negatively affected, I would tend to disagree. But if it can be done in a safe and practical manner, I would totally agree with solving the organ shortage crisis that way.
Greg.
Just curious how you got interested in this. Did you actually know Robert? Is this your field of study? Or
I actually had to write a persuasive paper in English 135, and I was looking at some of the TED Talks, just had no idea what I wanted to do, and I came across this topic, and it really captivated me, and I did some further research, and it was really, really interesting to me, so I decided to do a speech on it.
Maybe one more question, Patrick.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I was just going to say, in regards to both of you guys' speeches, like new futuristic medical technology, I think it's just super interesting, as well as heavily controversial, the possibilities of where man can go in the next 20 to 30 years, right? Like, I don't know, have you ever seen the movie Gattaca?
Yes, I have.
So, like, it's similar to that movie, right? Where, like, there's you could have like a pure human as well as the human with an asterisk, and just like two completely divided subspecies essentially. So all the morals attached to it and everything. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's a pretty controversial issue for sure.
Absolutely.
give Patrick a hand. Yeah.